you're staying healthy and safe while we are following public health recommendation regarding social distancing. A few housekeeping mentions before we get started. We've had more than 100 people register for this webinar. So there might be some who will not be able to sign on because the first 100 will be allowed to sign on. So, but we will be recording this webinar and posting it on youtube.com/Alabama Possible. Again, the webinar will be recorded and posted to youtube.com/Alabama Possible. And during the webinar, you can submit questions for the attendees all through the webinar. You can submit questions either using the Q&A feature or the chat feature. At the end of the webinar, there's a Q&A session when we will give the presenters an opportunity to provide insights to your questions. I would now like to introduce our panelists. The first three panelists will be speaking from the perspective of FAFSA, admissions, and high school closures. The panelists include Stephanie Miller. She is the Director of Financial Aid at Central Alabama Community College. Tyler Peterson, he's the Executive Director, Admissions, Financial Aid and Scholarships, UAB. And Sean Stevens, Program Coordinator, Instructional Services, Alabama State Department of Education. And the presenters will present in the order that they have been introduced, and we will start with Stephanie Miller.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone, let's see, I'm not sure, maybe this video is on, so if everybody can see me, hello. We'll start today with talking about some of the things with financial aid and the COVID-19. I do have a quick screen share that I'm going to share with you for things that we need to remember about what we're trying to do today. So as a reminder, your students, while they may not be in session at your physical location, they are able to continue to do their FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, online at FAFSA.gov, and remind them to list any schools that they may be considering attending. Just recently, I received a notice from a student who said, hey, due to this COVID-19, I am no longer going to be able to attend the school that I had put on my FAFSA, and that I'd also applied to a scholarship to attend. And they asked if they could apply for a scholarship as well as make updates to their FAFSA. And unfortunately, I would have loved to have said yes to the scholarship application. However, it closed on February 1st, so I was unable to do so. However, they could still go out and put our school code on the FAFSA. So when you talk to students and they ask questions about the FAFSA, encourage them to list any school that they may want to attend, as well as the schools close to home, because you just never know when your situation may change, when the student situation may change, or the parent situation. Another thing with the FAFSA, if you have students who are planning on attending summer, and I put 2019 here, I've been working in 1920, so that should have been 2020, so I apologize for that. If they are going to attend summer 2020, then we need to make sure that the student fills out the appropriate FAFSA. You may have students who may be going to the summer because they're an athlete and they need to get into class for the summer for their particular sport. Or maybe you have a student who is going to go to one of the summer programs at the school. Or maybe you have a student who needs to, is going to take some classes because tuition rate's going to go up in the fall and it's a little bit less expensive in the summer, and they want to go ahead and get ahead of the game. Some schools consider their summer as a trailer to their fall and spring, which means the student who would be going in the summer 2020, as I said, this is a mistake right here. I'll get that changed. This should be summer 2020. Should be filling out their 1920 FAFSA if they're going into the summer and the school considers their summer term a trailer. We have a few schools in the state of Alabama that consider the summer term as a header term, which means that they would fill out the 2020-2021 FAFSA. So you want to make sure that the student checks with the school to see which FAFSA they need to be filling out for the summer. In addition, if students need help filling out the FAFSA, you as a counselor can obviously always contact the financial aid office and ask the question. However, if you will go online and just Google 2020-21 FAFSA PDF, then it'll come to you. One of the options will be to click on that and download that PDF form. The PDF actually gives you all of the instructions about who is my parent, what does as of this date mean, so you make sure that you use the 2018 taxes for the 2020-2021 FAFSA. But it gives you a lot of information that normally we may not read when it's online because you have to click a couple of extra buttons, but that certainly helps students and parents, as well as myself, to ensure that we have everything correct on the FAFSA. Now, many schools have preference deadlines. I will say that for my school, our preference deadline for your FAFSA is April 1st. That does not mean that the school is not taking FAFSAs and different paperwork. After that date, it's just a preference deadline so that they can ensure that students get their information in enough time to start the awarding process well before fall begins, so students know what they're trying to how much money they may need to put with what they've already received. And I'm just here to tell you, as a financial aid administrator, I've been in the financial aid administration for over 20 years now, and I don't know of a single financial aid office that is not either working from home or considered essential and therefore working on campus, unless they're out of the office for spring break. So be aware that we are all in it together, and look on their website and get email addresses to the financial aid email as a whole, or to the individual people that you're trying to get in touch with. Students can do the same. If you have trouble getting in touch with someone, or if you're not sure who to email, a lot of times you can put a request out on social media and they immediately will send it to the financial aid office. So make sure that you stay in touch with the financial aid offices, or if you've got I know it's time consuming, but if you've got a question and you know that student is going to a school, and I'm just going to use my school, Central Alabama, because that's where I'm working. But if you've got a question, hey, get my email, contact me. You can even contact my phone number that is on the website. And I'm using Google Voice to call back students and staff, and also using other things like Teams and Zoom meetings to try to ensure that all of our students are helped, and whether it's a new student or a continuing student. So just make sure that we use all avenues. And if you ever have a question, even if you're not coming to my school, please shoot me an email. I'll be glad to help you at any time. And like I said, we are all in this together. So we will do what we need to do to make everyone and their students successful. On another note about scholarships and things maybe to do with the FAFSA, please make sure that all of your students are aware that during this time there will be many scams. There's already some that come out, but there may be many scams that come out for this. Hey, scholarship due to this, or things like that. We need to make sure our students know that there are reputable sites out there, and if they're not sure, they can reach out to you, and then you can reach out to us, whatever needs to happen here. But some of the reputable scholarship sites are fastweb.com, and the U.S. Department of Labor actually has a scholarship site. Obviously, their scholarships are open at all different times of the year for all different types of students. And to find that, if you go out to the U.S. Department of Labor webpage, when you click on it, you may not see it right off. So you can actually Google U.S. Department of Labor scholarship page, and the link will actually come up for you. It's a lot easier. So if you ever have any questions about anything being legitimate, get with your local financial aid office, or you're welcome to email me at any time. I'm sure Alabama Possible will be putting out our contact information with this. And if anybody has any questions, we will, you can put them in the chat session, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. So thank you so much for listening. I'm going to stop sharing now. So I think it is Tyler can have the floor.
Sure. Thanks, Stephanie. And good afternoon, or almost afternoon, to you all. My name's Tyler Peterson, and I am part of the enrollment management team at UAB. But I thought I'd provide just a little bit of a high-level overview of some of the conversations that are taking place in admissions offices, whether that's in the Southeast, nationally, or just sort of what the big conversations are consisting of. I think, for us, one of the important things as on the admissions side and on your side as well is that this is really fluid. And so decisions that we made last week to a certain deadline has now changed 3 days. It's extended even further. Probably no different than, announcements that get made by our politicians about extensions of social distancing and things of that nature. So it is fluid. It's constantly changing, and what we know today is more than what we knew Friday. You're likely seeing a lot of colleges and universities that are pushing back deadlines where they can, especially some schools that may be really focused on that May 1 deadline. I've seen that many have pushed that back to June 1. And in general, we know that many of your students may have planned to take an ACT or an SAT this spring, and maybe they've gotten rescheduled to this summer. Whether or not those tests take place is yet to be determined. So I hope that you're going to find flexibility on the part of colleges and universities. I know many within the state are flexible on what that looks like. Stephanie's comment about financial aid working, that's exactly the case, and same thing for admissions offices and visiting campuses, except the visit is this, right? It's a virtual environment, and these 3 weeks that we've been closed are typically the 3 busiest weeks that a university will find. Typically this is when seniors make one last visit, and it's when juniors start visiting. So I want to be very mindful. Right now, we're talking a lot about seniors, but this process is really going to compress and impact the juniors in their decision-making process, because they may not be able to visit schools until much later. If an ACT or SAT is required, they may not be able to take that until a much later date, a September or an October. So again, these are all conversations that enrollment management offices are having about how to adjust, how to be flexible. Many schools are extending how they're instructing, not just this term, but into the summer. And I certainly think it's realistic to expect some disruptions. I know some of you may have students that may plan to take courses over the summer, whether that's UAB or Central Alabama, and just being mindful that be some interruptions or changes on how some are delivered. But most groups, most schools are offering a platform similar to this, whether it's a one-on-one meeting, an advising appointment, meeting with financial aid, or an admissions representative. You'll definitely see that. We've had a lot of questions so far about families that have already been impacted financially, and Stephanie touched on that, but just know in the admissions world for your incoming students, we certainly expect that will increase over the coming months, that there will be more people impacted financially over the coming months, and you'll find that schools are prepared, or at least having conversations now about how to be prepared in order to handle a lot of those conversations. My advice to you all at this point is make sure that you are asking questions. I think most of you are aware of who you work with at each college or university, community college, wherever. And just make sure that you're asking the questions. And if you're not certain that you're getting the right answer, keep asking, figuring out maybe who that director of admissions or financial aid is that might can give you some guidance in some real challenging situations. Because as you're counseling students, we know that time is really important to them. And even though many schools are saying we have a lot more time, we have more availability or timing to process, we know that for your student, that's a really important decision that they may feel a lot of anxiety about making. So, so I will stop there. I understand that we'll have an opportunity for some questions either in the chat pod or at the end, but just wanted to share a high-level overview of admissions and what that looks like with deadline extensions, and also to be thinking a little bit about that junior class and how this is going to be an impact, not just for our current seniors in high school, but also our juniors. So thank you, and I believe I'll turn it over to Sean.
Hello, my friends. Hope everyone is doing well. Just wanted to spend just a few minutes to talk to you about our school closures, details and information, and also some other details I think that'll be absolutely critical to your counseling work. First, just want to thank Alabama Possible for making this available to our staff. No matter if you're a counselor, career coach, lead teacher, administrator, whatever, we cannot get through this without you guys. Of course, our community college, post-secondary partners, everyone who's involved in helping our schools be successful, we certainly want to thank you guys. First, just want to say that in the next few weeks, you're going to see we have 2 new counseling and guidance staff that'll be joining the State Department that will be helping move our work forward. And we're excited that counseling and guidance is being moved to instructional services so that we can continue the work we've been doing for so long. And again, we can't do it without you guys. I'm going to share my screen for just a moment and just make sure that everybody actually has, let's hope. Of course, it's probably not going to let me do it after I've already tried it out. Here we go. Let's see. It's not going to let me share my screen now, except now it will. So hope you all can see. Can someone just say yes to me?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So just want to make sure that everyone has the 3 real key documents with our local academic continuity plans. And I just want to highlight a couple of things. We have a couple of webinars this afternoon. We're going to have several of them. I know some of you have already joined some of those, or the one that we had on Friday. And so we're just kind of trying to repeat this information so that you know what role school counseling, career coaches, and that everyone plays. And I just want to highlight a couple of places here that I know many of you are interested in knowing, and that's how do kids get to determine their grades. So each school system is going to submit a local plan, how they plan to continue instruction. And so in that plan, it must address how students are going to earn their final grades. Maybe it's by credit advancement for some, maybe it's going to be based on the school students use the average 3 to 9 weeks. Some may actually even put an end of course assessment, or they may choose something completely different. Regardless of the option that you choose, it'll be included in that local plan. And so we hope you're part of those conversations and what makes sense and what looks best for your students, because when we all left just a couple of weeks ago, life looked a lot different than the way it looks right now. And so we just want to I want to make sure that you guys are involved in those conversations. I hope that you'll be vigilant and much like you always are, a great advocate for your students. And so just want to make sure you see that. Seniors, Dr. Mackey has determined that a senior who is on track to graduate and is in good standing as of the return date of April the 6th, we consider them as meeting the graduation requirements if they're enrolled in the courses they need to be. However, your school system may determine that they want to implement other options, other strategies, but for some students, there will be some additional work that's involved. We've included in another document, I'll show you in just a second, information about advanced placement, dual enrollment. There are still so many uncertainties right now that we don't have all the answers, but we've tried to address as many as possible. When it comes to your students who are in grades 9 through 11, you guys are going to be, I hope, heavily involved in determining, all of the graduation requirements and how students can earn credit for those graduation requirements, no matter if they're the 4 core or if they're the other requirements like career prep, health, PE, arts, career tech, foreign languages. And so we want you to also be your usual advocate selves, you know, when you're advocating for your students at what this plan may look best for your school system. Of course, we have to keep in mind that any students from special populations require some additional focus. And so we know many of our districts have already put those pieces in their plans. And of course, they have to address that with us. And so those are the key pieces to the local plans that have to be developed. I wanted to show you an example, and this was going to already post or will be posted again. We've made some changes to it since Friday, but you'll find quite a bit of information in this kind of companion manual that talks about very specific things, from where some of the school resources are for students and schools who are struggling with, do we go completely virtual? Do we send home packets? All of those different pieces, links to everything, as well as section on school counselors, students. Things are highlighted. Include this in our the added guideline. You can provide counseling services, especially during an emergency closure situation. We've heard from many systems where school counselors and career coaches are hosting small groups via Zoom or WebEx. We've actually seen even classroom teachers hosting these, so that they're checking up on their students. They're ensuring that not just the seniors, but that all of our students have the tools and resources they need, and that they also know that a lot of people care about them. And so these are some information, pieces of information that I'm going to include in our things. And so I'm hoping that gives us enough time for any innovative ways that you're using your school counseling program currently, or what you plan to do moving forward.
Thank you, Tyler, Stephanie, and Sean. Thank you very much. And Sean, there was a question. You'll be able to send, can people find this on the web, your information?
Absolutely. By the time this webinar is finished, it'll already be posted, and I'm happy to share these copies with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. So we'll move on to our next session. So the next 3 panelists will be speaking of innovative ideas that they are using to reach out to their students and maintain a constant contact with them. The panelists include Dr. Samantha Briggs. She's Gear Up Alabama Project Director at UAB School of Education. Then Ms. Kathy Dean, she's the school counselor and AP coordinator at Sulligent High School. Amy Smith, college and career counselor, Pell City High School. And they will present in the order that they have been introduced, starting with Dr. Samantha Briggs.
All right. Hey, everybody. Again, thank you for joining us today. This is an amazing turnout with, we're actually at 100 folks now. So I'm going to share one little thing here with you guys. If I can, like everybody else, get it to cooperate for me. See if I can. All right, you guys have that one single slide up? So that's just to give you a visual of who Gear Up Alabama is, just in case you are unfamiliar. So there are actually 3 Gear Up grants in the state. There's Gear Up Jefferson County, which is at the University of Montevallo, and they work with, I believe, 8th and 9th grade students, and in Tarrant, Fairfield, Midfield, Bessemer City, as well as Jefferson County, and I could be missing someone. There is a Gear Up Birmingham, which works with juniors and seniors in high school, the class of 2020 and 2021, just in Birmingham City schools. And then there is us, Gear Up Alabama. We are a state grant, and we work with students in all of the counties that you see in the blue section. We have about 9,000 or more students. We fluctuate in there. We're at 42 different high schools in 17 counties, 21 school districts. And like Gear Up Birmingham, we were awarded by the U.S. Department of Education in 2014, and our students are juniors and seniors. And so we have, sorry, I didn't want to do that. So I just wanted to share with you quickly what we're doing. Luckily, we are a large group. There are about 9 of us who work in what we call the central office in the School of Education at UAB. But we have an amazing group of about 89, 90 folks in the community. So we have retired educators, we have people from the communities who have a heart for the work. We have individuals at every high school that we call team leaders. We have site facilitators, and we have a group of dynamic women who manage these clusters of districts called regional coordinators. And we have been in communication with them constantly since we were moved to a telecommuting operation. And we had regional updates last week where every single school district spoke up and let us know what their food and nutrition programs are in their districts and their communities. They let us know the accessibility of the students. We do have 3 districts that were noted in an AL.com article recently about their lack of connectivity. And so we are working with partners, we're working with friends of UAB and friends of the work to try to see what we can do in those areas. We've been just trying to make sure that the students have everything that they need to meet the requirements of the State Department, first and foremost, the requirements of the school districts once April 6th rolls around. But in the meantime, we've also been working on resources, either creating our own or just forwarding other great resources from like ACT Corporation, as well as some of our nonprofit vendors like College Admissions Made Possible. We've had a lot of good resources from Khan Academy, things of that nature. But then we're also trying to promote things that the students can just do at home on their own. So does that mean cooking at home with their family member? And, you know, perhaps recording a video of that and learning the math within that, you know, in terms of measurements. Actually something that I tested out with my own 17-year-old junior in high school at home, since we'll be together for the next 5 months. But, you know, reading, you know, all that kind of good stuff. But we're also making a really big push from our central office for social emotional learning. We are very concerned about our students' emotional health right now, especially our seniors. Our seniors are very disappointed in missing out on the social aspects of school. They're missing their friends. They're missing the fact that they didn't have kind of the opportunity to say goodbye, because when they did go home, they went with things up in the air, not knowing what was what. So they are missing that opportunity for closure. They are missing the opportunity for the formal graduation and all of the celebration. So we are rolling out this week on our social media pages a series of lives, as the kids call it. You know, we're all trying to work in their space. As our social media expert told us, we need to go where the kids are and not try to get the kids to come to where we are. So we're taking it to Instagram, we're taking it to Facebook. We have a licensed clinical social worker and a licensed clinical psychologist that's been working with our kids over the years. And we will host some discussions with them to find out, you know, how they're feeling, what they're thinking about. We're also going to do some fun stuff. Again, kind of cooking. We have a program that we take into the schools that we call Real Talk with Ro and Tez, and those are 2 of our graduation coaches at UAB. And so they're going to now, instead of being able to go into the schools to do that, they're going to do it live on Instagram. So we're looking forward to connecting with our students, you know, as much as we can. We've been working long hours for the past couple of weeks. I would say a good 6 to 8 Zooms a day, 12 hours a day, just trying to get ready for what we're rolling out this week. But again, you know, we are a small but mighty group at UAB, and we are only as good as the wonderful folks that we have in the communities. And those folks are calling the kids, they're checking in on them, you know, encouraging them, uplifting them, making sure that they are not falling by the wayside, that they're not sad. We want our seniors to know it is not over, that they have to finish the requirements as directed by their districts and by the State Department. And so that's what we're offering, you know, our 21 districts right now, is the emotional support, the love, and making sure that the folks that we have out in the communities, our site facilitators, team leaders, regional coordinators, our parent coordinator, and our graduation coaches, that they're really helping spread the word, connect to the kids, connect to the parents, connect to the teachers, and just be here as a big support system in any way possible. So that's what Gear Up Alabama has going on. And if there's time later and you guys want me to address something else, then I'll be happy to do so.
All right, Kathy.
Yes, again, my name is Kathy Dean, and I'm a school counselor at Sulligent High School in Lamar County. We're a very rural, small community. Not everybody has internet and computers, so I'm at a very disadvantage of trying to get a hold of some people and making sure that they've got what they need. So one thing that I've been doing is I've continued my newsletter that I send out every Friday. I've changed it up where I'm giving a list of things for juniors and seniors to be working on, making them feel like there is still a future, that this is not the end. So that newsletter goes out on social media as well as the Lamar County School app. And I also email it to all the students so the parents can read it as well. I've also turned my dining room into my counseling office. It is full of every kind of notebook you can in here, trying to register students. Thankfully, because we're changing over to Power School, I was working on getting the students registered for the next year. I got all that done before we left, so I'm working on the master schedule. So I'm going to seek out the students through Zoom and Google Hangout and email with any questions that we might have about the master schedule, making sure that they're in the classes they want to be in for next year. Really want to uplift the students because they are disappointed that they just abruptly left school. The lockers need to be cleaned out. They need to pick up their things, and but school's not over. So we did a kind of a Facebook thing last week where we just said, you know, share all your favorite memories of your senior year, and let's post all those pictures. I still want to continue and do the senior signing day, and so what I have planned is I'm going to create a PowerPoint, and each student, I will share that with the senior class, and they'll create their own slide that will have a picture of them as well as the schools they're going to, wear their t-shirts, their hats, make signs, just something to let them know that we hadn't forgot about them so they can have that same experience. I'm hoping that graduation will take place in some form or fashion. Just don't know what that's going to look like yet because we haven't been given all the information from our district. I've also put a basket on my front porch, and so that's where the kids drop off scholarship applications, they pick up scholarship applications. They still need forms filled out for Social Security for kids that are drawing benefits from their parents. So things like that, they're dropping them off, I'm filling them out or delivering them and putting them back out there for them to pick up. I also have a school store outside my office for free, no charge. So I've moved that to the end of my street where I have a table set up with all their supplies, paper, pencils, notebooks, hygiene products. So I want to keep, let the kids know that I still want to be concerned about their total well-being, not just about graduating. Some of the things that I tried today, there's a free app that you can use. You can book me. So I started using that today so that the students can make an appointment with me if they need to talk or their parents want to talk or have a conference. Don't know how that's going to work. They just started it today, but I hope it works out well. I get a lot of great resources from Facebook. Some of the high school counseling Facebook groups are really wonderful. They're sharing these wonderful apps and things that we can use to reach our students. Another thing that I did is I sent out a Google form for the seniors, asking them how are they, you know, how can I help you, what do you need from me. We were able to do the FAFSAs back in October, so that's completely taken care of. Most of them had all gotten all their scholarship applications in, except for the few local ones that we're doing right now. So those things are over with, but it's the unknown that's worrying them more than anything. I've also shared a lot of virtual college tours for the juniors, giving them a list of things to start working on. You know, go ahead and start writing that educational statement, your goals, so that you'll have it ready. So when school starts back, that we can start on a good note and to make sure that they know that this is going to pass. We'll get through this, and we'll be better because of it. And I also shared some wellness apps for some of the students. They're called Breathe, Calm, or Mind Shift, Well Tracker, just to name a few of those that I put in the newsletter. So if they need to relax in some way that they can, I've given them sports movies to watch for the softball players and basketball players and track and baseball players that are missing their season. So just trying to do fun things, trying to do things that are uplifting, trying to make sure that they connect with me and that they have a way to get these forms back and forth to us. And like I said, we're social distancing. They don't come in my house. I do live in a small community, so it was easy for me to give out my address and my phone number, because they all know who I am and where I live anyway. So I didn't see that that was a big deal. I know it would be probably for some, but I just turned my house into a counseling office, so to meet the needs of my students.
All right, next is Amy Smith.
Okay, guys, you're gonna have to bear with me for just a second. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Amy.
Okay, great, good, I'm glad. First of all, I would just like to say that Kathy, you are amazing. That was great. And I know you can't reply back, but I was going to show you some of the things that, and a lot of the things that Kathy has shared are a lot of the same things that we are doing. But I was going to show you, first of all, I thought that you guys would find this kind of amusing, the graduate with the hazmat suit on, because we are supporting college and career in a whole new world for us. One of the things that we've been doing is making a Google Hangout or a Google check-in form, just asking the students, number one, making sure that they're okay, and asking how it is that we can help them. Making sure that they know where they can get lunches or backpack buddies, which are just ways in which we can provide snacks for them during this time. Another thing, I know Kathy had mentioned, there are lots of different ways out there where they can make appointments. We use Google appointment forms. That's free. If you have the Google Suites, it allows students to make appointments with you, and we're going ahead and utilizing that just as normal, because I feel like if the students are already used to that, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Also, I'm going to show you the link in just a minute for FAFSA resources. Again, like Kathy said, that is something that we introduced very early in the year, in October 1st when it opened, but a lot of our students have dragged their feet with that. I know those of you who work with seniors can relate to that. So a lot of them are frantically emailing me and asking how I can help them with that. So I'll show you some resources that you can use for that. I think another way that we need to really utilize right now are just ways that we can communicate with them. As Kathy had said earlier, social networking, Instagram. Of course, most students don't use Facebook, but through Instagram, through Remind 101, through setting up a counseling Google Classroom if we have to. I was going to show you another thing that I thought was really interesting. A lot of my teachers are real apprehensive about using their own phone number when communicating with students. It does not bother me, but I can understand where that might be a problem with some teachers or some counselors. So here is a tutorial on creating a Google phone number. So that's something that you can do through Google, which could be very helpful. This is a link for free educational resources, and it is mind-boggling how many free resources are on there. So I think that's important that we share that with our parents who are very apprehensive at the idea of digital learning and having these students at home with them. It is amazing to me how many different companies have opened up subscriptions for free during this time. So that's just such a great thing. Also, Audible for kids is free during this time. Here's a link to that. You know, getting this information out not only to your students, but also to the parents. And I think I misspelled resources there because I was in a haste to get this ready. Here is a link here to the blog that I run for my students. And there's every type of tutorial for FAFSA completion on this. Another one of the things, I haven't heard anybody mention this, but this is something that I'm encouraging my seniors to do, is just to decorate their doors to promote, you know, that they do have a graduate. And it's just one of those things that helps students lift morale during this time. Another thing that we're going to do this next week, and I know that it sounds cheesy, but sometimes in this day and age and going through what we're going through, I think seniors do still need to be kids. And so one of the things, and I keep flipping back and forth, is a digital dress up day. And so different ways in which to share those with each other. Just, you know, just because we're at home does not mean we cannot dress up. And also, if we go down just a little bit, I think that is the end of the resources that I have to share, but I will share this link with Alabama Possible so they can get it out to all of you, and I hope that it will help. And that's all that I had, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Amy. For some reason, your screen share wasn't working. So what we'll do is, if you forward it to us, we can put it on our resources link and we can send it out to all the attendees that way.
Thank you. I'll be glad to do that.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to the questions. Most of them were answered online, but there were a couple of questions. I see one is, Larry Turner wanted everybody to share. So Larry, we will send all this information to you all in a follow-up email, and you will receive that. And then I think Samantha had already answered this question. Is there a Gear Up that serves South Alabama, Mobile, Washington, Escambia, Clark, Baldwin, etc.? So Samantha had already mentioned that answer. So there was one question which was asked by Brittany Hogan to all the panelists. How can local nonprofits be of best assistance to the school system during this time? Again, how can local nonprofits be of best assistance to the school system during this time? Panelists, please unmute yourself and
they support everything that Kathy's doing. That was what Kathy shared in terms of the resources is so amazing.
The one thing that I'm having trouble with,
and really have a store on your porch, you know, because that's one of the big things that we're concerned about, is not being able to respond to the every need of our children the way we're used to being able to do. Feminine hygiene products, hair care products, those types of things, you know, they are, you know, things that a lot of folks on my team throughout the communities, my site facilitators and team leaders, like they're the go-to people for the children when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so if there's some type of way to connect community partners to counselors and to other folks who live in the communities and let there be, you know, pickup stations, that would be awesome. I love that idea.
Thank you.
You're muted, Kathy.
I'm sorry. Did it go off? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
One thing that my students, some of them need, because a lot of them were taking AP classes, and so those AP exams are coming up, and we plan to take them paper pencil. And now they're going to have to take them on the computer at home. And so I have students that don't have Wi-Fi and don't have computers. And then I know they've shared a lot of information about Spectrum and another one that if you call these numbers that they'll get you Wi-Fi, but the areas that we live in, they don't serve. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. So if any business had computers that they could clean and throw away or want to get rid of, I've got some students that could need those, as well as the hygiene products. I collect, my community gives me stuff all the time. We live in a small community where we just kind of help each other out. And like when people go on vacations and everything, they bring me back all their extras from the hotel rooms. And so that's what I have, as well as socks and paper and pencil. And I was just afraid that some parents that have lost their jobs, maybe they're beauticians, and they can't work right now. Their kids need school supplies, you know, to be able to do whether they're doing the paper packets or the computers and things like that. So I just worry about the whole child.
Kathy, I don't know if you can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I don't know if you have a local college, and I don't know if UAB is doing something like that, because it is, you know, in a city, but for Central Alabama, we actually have a hub where our students can go and park their car outside the school building and get on the Wi-Fi. So I don't know for your school in particular, if you could do that, something at your local school that you could go in and maybe they would set that up, that Wi-Fi could broadcast a little further than just what's in the school building, so they could physically drive to the school and sit in their car and do what needed to be done on that Wi-Fi.
Thank you. That's a great idea. I will work on that.
And just make sure if you do give that suggestion, because somebody suggested that to us as well, and we were just concerned about students remaining responsible with the social distancing, that, you know, they might see one another in their cars and be tempted, like, oh, well, it's just going to be the two of us. It's not 10. So maybe I can just jump in your car and we can do this together. So I would just make sure that if you give that recommendation to the student.
All right, there were a couple of questions that were asked, and I guess the answers are just coming up as answers, not to the questions. So one of them was, how are colleges, universities handling orientation programs that are planned for early June? So from Stephanie, she responded, this is as far as financial aid is concerned. If parents or students have a significant change in income during 2020 as compared to 2018 income that was reported on the 2020-2021 FAFSA, the student can contact the financial aid office of the school she plans to attend to request a review of income. This is called a professional judgment, PJ, for an income adjustment. Now the same question, how are colleges, universities handling orientation programs that are planned for early June? So Tyler responded, right now, most appear to be on as planned. However, I think it is certainly possible that some of the earlier orientations may get moved to an online format, or in some cases, it may get pushed back to immediately before school starts.
And if I can add a little bit to that. So for example, at UAB, and orientation in April and May have already been moved to online orientation. Those were primarily for students starting in the summer. So I think for a lot of schools, it's just going to be waiting and seeing how all of this plays out. I think a possibility for a lot of schools could be an orientation right before classes begin in really late July or early August. But again, that is so fluid, but I think a lot of schools will be prepared to offer alternative form of orientation.
Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. The next question, this is for all the panelists. Is the Power School release officially going to be bumped until next year?
Ask that
Yeah.
again.
It's Power School. Hey guys, this is Juan. The question regarding Power School implementation, we expected an announcement on Friday afternoon, and I have not seen that announcement, so I don't want to get ahead of that, but I do believe that that will be addressed before the end of the day today.
I know Kathy and I probably will be praying hard for that.
Well, I kind of hope it stays June 5th because I'm almost done and I just want to rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. But I do have a question about financial aid for my own students. I have sent out an email and let them know which ones have been selected for verification, if they need to contact the colleges to find out what they need to do next. Is that what I need to be telling them?
Yes, you are welcome to do that. I'm not sure if you see my video anymore or not. Something happened with my camera, so hopefully you can hear me, but you can tell the students to do that. I know for the Alabama Community College system, there is a group of us that are actually changing softwares during the midst of this, and so we actually go live April 17th. So for students who have already done their FAFSA and may not have heard anything from that particular cohort of schools, then they should be starting to hear things toward the end of April, that midpoint of April. For students who are in other schools, they should be sending emails to these students. Typically, all schools will notify students through their school email. And when we say school email, I'm talking about like my CAC email or the UAB email. Hey, we received your FAFSA. You have additional items that need to be completed. For those students who might not have an email or might not have been admitted, hopefully those admissions offices, and Tyler can speak more to this, but hopefully those admissions offices are reaching out to those students. But yes, you can certainly tell your students to reach out to the financial aid office and say, hey, is there anything else I need to do to complete my financial aid file? And those offices will respond.
Okay, thank you.
Stephanie's exactly right. When you all are working with students, I think a knee-jerk reaction is, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't go to college, you know, a job loss, or this has happened, or that's happened. And, you know, we always follow up to talk about what things look like, to talk them through the process Stephanie mentioned, to see if there are other opportunities. And so, yeah, that's going to be a really important question to ask before students decide that they can't do something. Have those conversations with admissions and financial aid. And as I shared earlier, we anticipate a significantly higher volume of professional judgments this year, or appeals this year, than we have in previous years.
Sean, this is Samantha. I have a question. Not to put you on the spot. We've been doing a lot of work around summer melt, and we know that summer melt has moved up a few months to spring melt, perhaps. Do you have any recommendations from the State Department? And it kind of goes to what Tyler just said as well, with regard to keeping the students engaged and keeping them hopeful in knowing, you know, and believing that they still have to finish strong this semester to graduate and then be prepared for college in the fall. Can you give us any recommendation? We're doing our best from what we know to do, but if there's anything that you guys are talking about at the state level, I'd be happy to know.
Sure, you know I don't mind ever being put on the spot. So, of course, Alabama was selected as one of the states to participate in a summer melt project, and many of our counselors and career coaches at the secondary levels are aware, probably from a very high level of that. I'm happy to resend some of that information out. Those details, I know Dr. Connor's been working on that in this several months of a difference in counseling being in one place versus counseling being another. I have not been as actively involved in it, but I will certainly be glad to share that. But our summer melt project that we were selected to do will continue as scheduled. it's just such a crazy time right now. If we can just get a little momentum here with some details moving and get our schools kind of back to something, I think we're going to see a lot of traction, a lot of
I think that's
All right, I guess.
finger as Sean was looking for more momentum. Just he cut us off wanting more for part 2.
All right. Any of the panelists have anything else to share? I don't see any more questions, but any of the panelists have anything to share?
I just think right now, just encouraging our students with the summer melt, becoming spring melt, just encouraging them to and reminding them about things that we take for granted. Just like Stephanie said, like check your email, and by your email, we mean your college email, and just encouraging them that, we're going to get through this, that there's not a playbook, but that we're all doing the best that we can, and that they're just going to have to persevere and keep on, and it's going to be okay. I think that they need to hear that from us, because a lot of them are not hearing this from their parents. So we are going to, have to step up and play an additional role, or a role that we always play, but just in a different way virtually now.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Anyone else?
Well, I just reiterate what Amy said. We are all in this together. We're all trying to find the resources that best assist our students. And it's not just about my students and your students. It's about all our students being successful within the state and going on to pursue their dreams. So we're, like she said, we are all in this together. Do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I'm sure I can speak for the panelists here. If you have a question, reach out, because we are here to help anyone.
I apologize for my screen not sharing, but I did share my link, and I think it does have some very valuable resources. So, and just like Stephanie said, I'm available. If you need anything, please feel free to email me. And if I don't know the answer, I can maybe help point you in the right direction. I think a lot of us feel like we're tied to our computers right now more than ever. So we've just, got to utilize our resources and help each other out.
I wanted to apologize for going so fast. I think someone made that comment, but I will give you my email address. That way, if you want to have any of my resources, I'll be glad to email them to you. But it's just the initial K, Dean, D-E-A-N, at lamarcountyboe.com. Again, that's K-D-E-A-N at lamarcountyboe.com. And I'll be glad to help. We're all in this together. We're all for our Alabama students. And if any way I can help you, please reach out.
Thank you, Kathy.
Kathy, I would like to thank you for giving me the idea to open up my front porch. That's about to happen. So I think that was amazing. I never would have thought of that.
Thank you. There's one more question that I see now. This is for Stephanie, probably. Is the CACC hub just for the CACC students?
Currently, we have students that are going, and they are CACC because it has not been put out, I think, to the full community. But you are welcome to go to CACC and sit in that parking lot in the Alexander City campus to get that Wi-Fi access. You will have to register yourself, but you should be able to get on. If you were to go and you can't, reach out to me and we'll see what the issue might be.
All right, thank you all, everyone. So first of all, thank you for everything that all of you do. The panelists, the attendees, thank you for helping our students and their families. And we would like to thank our panelists for taking out time and sharing information with all of us. And we will be hosting such webinars on a regular basis. So among the attendees or the panelists, if you have any relevant webinar topics that could help you, you would like for us to cover, please let us know and email suggestions to info@alabamapossible.org. Again, the email is info@alabamapossible.org. And we probably could use some of these questions also. If you all need more detailed responses, we could use them as future webinar topics. And thank you again, and have a great week. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
everyone.
great day.
Bye.
Bye.